Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm delighted that you could all make it here today for the first in this series of Drawing from the Well, Meet the Artists. Before we continue, I'd just like to ask everyone who has not done so already just to mute their microphone again. There will be opportunities later on to ask questions directly later, or if you prefer, you can use the chat function. And I would also like to remind everyone that this session is being recorded for the Irish Traditional Music Archive, and if you would prefer to, you're more than welcome to switch off your camera, but still remain in the session. For those who don't know, my name is David O'Brien, and I am the librarian at the Music Library in Dublin City Libraries. And we're delighted to be in partnership with the Irish Traditional Music Archive on this small series of question and answer sessions with the artists from their wonderful Drawing from the Well series. As one of the few public libraries in the country with a dedicated music department, we are always looking for ways to make music accessible and available to all, and to, I guess, raise awareness of the resources that are freely available to everyone right on their doorstep. And I had been thinking for quite some time that we could be doing more to promote Irish traditional music, and thankfully Liam O'Connor, director of ITMA, agreed to come on board and help to put together these afternoons, giving people an opportunity to chat to renowned artists in the field of Irish traditional music about their craft. Before I hand you over to Liam, I would like to say a huge thank you to Daoirí Farrell for agreeing to take part today. As I'm sure most of you know already, Daoirí is a supremely talented and award-winning musician, and we are very lucky to have him here with us. Born in Dublin, he initially worked as an electrician before making the decision to dedicate himself to music full-time. And having returned to college to gain both a diploma and a master's in music performance, he released his first album in 2009 and has since gone from strength to strength, and has been described as no less a personality than Donal Lunny to be one of the most important traditional singers to emerge in the last decade. So on that note, and I'm sure you've heard enough from me, so I hope you enjoyed the chat today. And now over to Liam O'Connor, Director of the Irish Traditional Music Archive.
Many thanks, David, and thanks so much to all the staff in the Dublin Central Library, and in a broader context as well, the Dublin City Council, and in a specific context as well, the Music Library in the ILEC. I'm a big fan of the access and all the resources that you make available to people in Dublin who have a deep interest in music. So we're, from ITMA's point of view, we're delighted with this partnership, and thanks so much for getting in touch with us. We're delighted as well to have Daoirí Farrell back with us. He's the latest artist in our Drawing from the Well series, and the aim at Drawing from the Well is to connect artists with archival material to inspire new works. And Daoirí did an amazing piece of work for us on Kathleen Behan very recently. It's available online, and we're delighted he's here with us today to answer a few questions and to tell us a bit more about his own life and music, and what inspires him, and what he's up to during these restrictive times. And we thought, what better way to start than a song from Daoirí. So I know this one of his most popular songs is Cregan's White Horse, and or White Hare. Cregan's White Hare, famous song, of course. Daoirí makes a spectacular job of this, and associated with the great Paddy Tunney as well. But how are you, Daoirí?
Good guys. Great to see you all. Thanks very much for coming along, and I can see me mum and dad and everything there, and that's great. You know, there you go. Yep, we'll be getting you a haircut soon, Des. Yeah, it's great to be here, and well, sure. Look, I'll give you a belt to the song anyway. The Cregan White Hare. I'd say at this stage he's probably nearly the same height as a horse, because I don't think he's been caught yet. So here's how. Anyway, it goes like this. So. In the lowlands of Cregan there lives a white hare, as swift as the swallow that flies through the air. He may tramp the world over, but none to compare to the pride of Low Craig and that bonny white hair. On clear autumn mornings you will suppose, with the red and golden sun over the green mountain rose. Barney Conway came down and he did declare, on his day I'll put an end to the bonny white hair. So he searched through the lowlands and down through the glen, all among the wild ditches where the white hair it ends, till at last coming down over the heather so fair, from behind the wild thistle out jumps the white hair. Bang, bang went his guns and his dogs he slipped to, as swift as the wind over the green mountain flew. But those dogs came back and this made Barney sigh, for he knew that the white hare had bid him goodbye. And we're some jolly sportsmen down here from Pombroy, from Cookstown, Dungannon, and from likewise the Moy. With our pedigree greyhounds we travelled from far, and we come down to Cregan in our fine motor car. Oh, and into the lowlands these huntsmen did go, and in search of the white hare they'd look high and low, till at last Barney Conway from a tarp bank so rare, she shouted out to the huntsman, there lies the white hare. So they called up their greyhounds from off the green lea, and Barney and the huntsman all jumped high with glee. It was there on the tarp bank all gathered around, 7 dogs and 9 men did that poor hare surround. Oh, no wonder that white hare did tremble with fear, as she stood on her hind legs she would raise her big ears. As she stood on her hind legs with one gallant spring, she jumped over the greyhounds and she broke through the ring. Well, that she as it went on, it was a beautiful view, as swift as the wind over the green mountain flew. But those pedigree greyhounds didn't run too far, they came back and went home in their fine motor car. Yeah. Then there came another man, and you all know him well, and his name it was Mick Kelly with bonny black bell. Oh, in search of the white hare today I'll have fun, I'll bet 50 to 1 my black bell will her turn. 5 turns the hare got then from bonny black bell, and the 6th one it was given around John Hoy's well. It was there we lost sight of the hare and the dog, and then 10 minutes later they came o'er the black bog. Well, that chase it went on, it was great for to see, oh, the white hare and the black dog roamed light and free, till she travelled to ask her where she knew the land well, and to bonny black Nelly there soon bid farewell. To conclude and to finish this rhyme, I hope that you'll forgive me for singing all this while. If there's any amongst you up in Carrickmore Fair, please drink up a health to that bonny white hare. Lovely. Thanks very much, everyone. There you go.
Fantastic, Jerry. Yeah, that's such a treat in the middle of the day. A break from emails and reports and all the rest here. It's so nice to hear hear live music. Yeah. Derry, can you tell me, how do you approach that song? Where did you learn it? How did you arrive at your own take on that? And I'm thinking that there's in the comments there as well about what a lovely combination of your voice and bouzouki, and you're moving away from the melody. You're varying the melody at times as well to match your chords, and just there's so much going on that goes under the radar. You just talk to us a little bit about how you approach that song.
Sure. I picked that song up in a very funny way. I won't go into it because it's a long story, but it was a friend of mine from years ago who bought me an album. And this was before I played the bouzouki. I was keen on the banjo, playing tunes on the banjo, and I would sit in different sessions around the place. And, what happened was I got this album, and it was Andy Irvine and Dick Gaughan singing. And the first song on that album is The Craig and White Hair. And I had a keen interest in dogs and fishing and going climbing mountains and this and that with my dad, maybe when we were young. Just a kind of a keen interest in things like that. And when I heard the song, I just felt like I had a connection with it. Like, it was just incredible, especially when I closed my eyes and I listened to Andy singing the song, I could see the chase, and I could kind of feel the tension between will the hair get away or not, and all of that. Like, and I just, so what happened was I got this kind of a connection. I felt like I got a connection with the song. Now, for a long time, I didn't know what to say kind of to explain that, but that's what it was. It was like a musical kind of connection. And I'm sure that all of you here understand that. Maybe, you know what I mean? You probably pick something and you kind of get a little bit kind of infatuated with it and that thing. So, but the thing about it is Andy has such an incredible arrangement on the song that it's very unique to him. So what happened was I started playing it myself on the bouzouki. It was actually the very first song that I actually probably learned on the bouzouki, that one, and a couple of different songs that I would have heard Andy Irvine singing, but that one for me was amazing. So I started playing it. Now, one very important thing here, something that I done in the song, which I kind of do and I don't regret, was I changed words in the last version. That's blasphemy, I think, to do that. And I changed it from Jack Devlin to Mick Kelly. Mick Kelly is my friend. He's my friend since childhood. And both of us would have had a keen interest in dogs, like I said, and fishing. And we were joined at the hip there for years, like when we were in school and stuff. We'd go everywhere together, getting into trouble and up the mountains and probably stay away for the weekend fishing and stuff, and loved it, but he had a dog called Black Bell, he called it, and he got it off a mutual friend of ours, but he lived he lived in for a spell, he lived in the Dolphin House, in one of the flats on the top of the balcony, or on the balcony, and that's where the dog used to stay. So we'd bring it out for a walk and stuff. But he ordered a pizza one day when he went out to pay. The dog jumped over the balcony, but he didn't jump off the balcony. What he done was he ran down the stairs and he was gone, never again to be seen. So the dog disappeared. But Mikey was really upset, and at the time I was recording this album, so I decided to change the Jack Devlin bit to Mick Kelly, and that's why it is now. You're probably saying to me, well, what's the big deal with that? It's that if you go on and have a listen to people singing the song, a lot of people will sing the song. I think it's very important to go back to the source a lot of the time with this stuff, and then make your own decisions from there. Because there's a lot of people out there that are singing Mick Kelly with the Bonnie Black Bell, and I know for a fact that they definitely don't know him. You know what I mean? So, so that's something that I ceased doing after that. When I recorded it, got the CD made, went and done the tour, and came back and had a listen to the album in the car, I was saying, I probably should have just done the actual version of the song. Then you've got the different kind of the arrangement that I done on the bouzouki. I don't really see that as a problem as much, but definitely words, I think, what I try and do now, as opposed to what I tried to do then, is I try and keep it as original as possible, out of respect to probably the writer, or the person who composed the piece, and that's what I try and do, you know. So
yeah, very, very interesting there. Yeah. By the way, to all our all those of you who joined today, that's you're very welcome to pop questions into the comments, the chat section there, and Alan Woods will bring some of them to Daoirí's attention shortly. Daoirí, could you rewind the clock back there a bit and tell us about your early experiences of traditional singing and what brought you to you know, I suppose, committing your life to traditional singing?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, back in school, an eclectic mix of music is what I listened to. Anything from the Bothy Band, Planksty, Clancy Brothers, Dubliners. You know, I'd have Christy Moore, The Prodigy, The Beastie Boys, House of Pain, Pavarotti. Mad. Just, it was, I suppose it kind of just was just a kind of a, you know, because of where I was from. I'm from Crumlin in Dublin originally, you know. At Paz, we would sit on the corner, we'd listen to that stuff. I'd go in the evening and I'd take the guitar down. I started playing the guitar when I was around 15, 16 years of age. And, you know, I started playing classical music on the guitar. So I kind of had Spanish classical lessons each week. And I remember the guy, and obviously he was probably just saying this so that I'd book another 10 lessons, but he was saying to me, you're really good at this. I knew I wasn't, like, you know, but, and I was all ready to book another 10 lessons because I actually enjoyed it, you know, music, although I was the only one out of all my friends who played. But what happened was, in around the 4th or 5th week, sure wasn't I offered an apprenticeship as an electrician, which I went and took. And I just, that completely changed my life. It went like from that straight road, down that road and down that avenue, and away I went again. I was an electrician, poured me heart and soul into it, well, as much as I could anyway. And so the music went to the wayside then for a long time, although I did still listen to it. So my earliest memories, I suppose, of music is listening to me father's record collection, which I actually still have here. He gave it all to me, you know, so I still have it here. And like I said, there would have been Planksty, the Bothy Band, that kind of stuff. Desi doesn't play music, but what he does is he is like myself. We have kind of the same interests in music, and he would listen a lot to. He would have been to like the protest gig, let's say the Christy Moore protest gig up in, you know, Larne, whatever, that kind, you know, that kind of thing. Like he was at those kind of gigs, and that's what he was into. And that's what I'm into. But I got into the electrical game, and to make a very long story short, I served my time, became an electrician, and I was foreman on a job. I remember being a foreman on a job when I was 21 and having 14 apprentices working with me, you know, and the youngest one was 28. So like, I mean, he was 7 years, the youngest, the guy who was first year, like, was, you know, he was 7 years older than me. So it was really, really weird. Like, you know, I had kind of went into that game, and so I stayed at it for a couple of years, maybe till I was 24, 25. And then we had the recession, and it was huge. And I remember there was the company that I was working for at the time. There would have been like 100 guys getting let go a week. Like, there was a really big company that I was working with. And so what I done was I invested in my business, and I bought a little motorcycle for myself. Actually, David, that's when it all started for me. And yeah, so I had that, and so I was able to go to further jobs and this and that. And then my boss said, kind of out of kind of context one day, you know, it would be really cool if a kind of a brand new electrician had a car, maybe 4-wheel. And he said it to me first. He said 4 wheels is better than 2 all the time, you know. So I just straight away I went home that day and I had a look for a car, and I kind of, you know, partly swapped the bike out for an Opel Corsa, which I had for you. But it kind of prolonged me electrical kind of, you know, employment. It was great. But then, like, I mean, you know, it was cut down to 2 days, 3 days a week. And what happened was I found myself off work for 3 weeks, and I hated it. I absolutely hated sitting at home doing nothing. Going from that, this is something that actually happened again last year, is going from doing so much to immediately doing nothing. It's a horrible, horrible feeling for me anyway. And I know there's loads of people out there that are the same. And so what happened was the girl I was going with at the time enrolled me in Kyoto the music course up in Ballyfermot because she kind of knew I had this interest in music. And that was where, it was that first year where I kind of started really honing on my banjo skills, playing the banjo and the mandolin tunes and stuff like that. And then eventually Paul McGrattan gave me a loan of the bouzouki for a week that they have in the college. And it was lights out from there. That was it. That was the start of it. So that's where I started playing the bouzouki and kind of starting honing that kind of a skill, or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Yeah, and that ferocious appetite that you had as well. I witnessed that. I remember going to the Kildare course, and then you went to Dundalk IT, and then on to UL as well. So, so it's sometimes when we see performers looking so naturally singing and playing at the same time, we think, oh, that looks easy, but it doesn't. It comes with many thousands of hours and people carefully honing their craft and dedicating time and being self-motivated. There's no shortcut. So, can you talk to us a little bit about Dundalk IT and UL, and then your road to playing professionally then, Daoirí, you know?
Sure. I mean, like, that's the thing. That's a really important thing there, Liam, is I think when I went from being an electrician to becoming, a student in a music college, I think I brought the one good thing about it was I brought that kind of drive with me, because for me anyway, the whole kind of academic side of becoming an electrician for me was really tough. And I figured out when I was around 20, or when I was around 18 or 19 years of age, I figured out that the only way, you can't cheat practice or kind of repetition. You can't cheat it. You can't kind of say, okay, I'll write the equations. I'll write the scientific kind of mathematical scientific equations on my wrist and go in and cheat. You can't do that, like, because you just, so I kind of had this all figured out. And I think music in that way obviously is very much the same. In order to get better at it, all that you can do is just practice. And I tell all of my students that now. It's great, but it took years kind of to have that in the forefront of your head, like, do you know what I mean? In the front of your head, like, and kind of, yeah. So what happened was when I went into the college, I would practice for hours and hours a day, because I was trying to catch up on these musicians who are superior to me in the college, like, and like, some of them went down a different road themselves. I mean, everybody's an individual, I suppose, but my drive was to kind of catch up on these guys. And then eventually I kind of was happy enough that I was caught up on them, that I decided I wanted to, I had been kind of started playing the extra instrument, like the bouzouki, and then I just got really, really interested in that. And opposed to the guitar, like, I mean, when you stand it up beside the guitar, I really understood the bouzouki a little bit easier than the guitar. So I kind of said to myself, I could actually make this my instrument, So I was soaking in everything. It was easier now, I have to say. It was easier on the body than being an electrician, and I had made my mind up after a year that I didn't want to go back doing that. So I made music my thing, and I started going touring and with different people. I was gigging with the likes of Alan Doherty and Tony Byrne, and then actually, Liam, that's where I met you. Then I met you through Paul McGrattan, because what happened was he was doing a session in Clondalkin, actually, I remember that, and myself and yourself and Gay McKeown and Kevin Glacken and the likes of these people would come along, and you'd never know. I remember one week Artie McGlynn and Paul Brady and John Carthy coming into the session, and I was absolutely awestruck. I couldn't believe it. And they sat down, and I was like, you see, all this kind of this kind of encouragement and stuff coming in, all like that, kind of just drives you on to want to do it even more, right? Niamh Parsons invited me into Mongolian singer session, which I actually, when I went in the first week, I couldn't believe how I had never heard of this before. This just set right with me. This thing was amazing. There was no instrumentation, and I really started to think differently about singing when I went in there. So like, this all kind of happened in the first 2 years. Then you're saying I went on to Dundalk then. That was a totally different kettle of fish. That was like getting thrown back into the deep end all over again, because you had thrown into the mix then classical music, singing as a tenor in the choir, singing Italian and German songs. I didn't have a bloody clue. I didn't, like, you know. Then I met the likes of Jerry O'Connor, the fiddle player, Len Graham, the singer, you know, all these guys, like, you know, and just kind of opened up whole new worlds for me, and got really interested in singing in the fla, and kind of got kind of more involved then with Cultus Cultori, Aaron and stuff like that. And at the time, and next thing, all of a sudden, all I knew was I was in fourth year in Dundalk, and I had met Fintan Valley, which brought me on to the next massively huge thing in my life, which was the study of Liam Weldon, which was just, I remember hearing him for the first time, and he absolutely blew me away with the heart that he put into a song. And then that brought up a new thing for me again then, as to you know, he used to speak all the time about sing from the heart. Now, I'm sure people would have mentioned this to me over the last couple of years, but it really, really came and kind of got stuck in my head when I heard Liam Weldon kind of speaking about it, you know. And it stuck there. And so what happened was, there was a new kind of learning curve for me there in trying to, you know, pick songs, sing them from the heart. I already had the first Torn album out, and it had been, I think that came out in 2009, and then the next album came out in 2016. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I mean, there was that massive gap where I had kind of been there in that college. Then I went to Limerick. That was learning and meeting more people. I met Donald Lunny. I met John Carty up there properly. I met Cyril O'Donoghue and Blackie O'Connell, and, you know, Niall and Sandra there. I mean, you name it. I mean, I met so many different people there that were really, really great musicians. And Karen Tweed I would have met up there, and I kind of started meeting a couple of different English players and stuff like this. And, you know, I met Caroline Keane, I met Tom Delaney, and obviously I was a friend with Robbie Walsh, and we decided to start up this band called Four Winds. That all happened when I was in Limerick, you know, and it was bloody, like, it's just amazing. It was amazing. It was so kind of intense over those couple of years, like, where going from zero to kind of where I was then, you know. And yeah, I mean, it really was an incredible. Sometimes you'd kind of think to yourself when you're lying in bed or you're sitting down having a cup of tea, why didn't I do it years ago? But that's the way life is. That's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Daoirí. Do you think, would you give us a song associated with Liam Weldon at some point?
Sure, yeah, I can sing a song now. Absolutely, no problem. I mean, you know, he wrote 5 lovely songs that he recorded, that we know of, and they're beautiful songs. And for me, by far, one of his most beautiful songs is a song called Via Extasia. And I could sing that for you now. But he wrote the song for his wife, Nellie, which is a beautiful thing to have, because it's there forever once people keep singing them, you know. And this is something that we would talk about a lot. People would kind of say to me a lot in the Golian and the likes of that, you know, they'd say to me, you know, the songs will stay alive once you keep singing them, or once our generation keeps singing them. So, and it's actually gone on to a younger generation, because I'm 39 this year. I'm an elfin now. But yeah, so he recorded this. He recorded and wrote and recorded this beautiful song, Via Extasia. And what happened was in 2019, I had asked Donald Lunny would he be able to play on and produce my latest album, which is called A Lifetime of Happiness, and he said yes. He says he said that he would really like for me to sing Via Extasia on the album, you know, because he actually produced Liam's album when he was, you know, on that song, and he played the guitar and the bouzouki and stuff. So we recreated it again and put it out in 2019. But I'll give you an unaccompanied version of the song anyway. It's really beautifully written, you know. It goes like this. Oh, if you were the restless sea, and I the steadfast stones, oh, you the waving kelp above, and I the bleaching bones, your little waves to lap my feet, advance and kiss, encroach, retreat, surround, submerge, and at last complete. Oh, you and I truly one. And were you then a yellow bloom, dancing in the grass, and I a hunting honeybee, pausing ere I pass, and as I sip your nectar sweet, your pollen grains surround my feet. In that ecstatic moment meet, oh, you and I truly one. And were I then a single seed, one of all millions in a field, and you a gentle raindrop from the sky, as you'd fall upon my breast to awaken me from my long rest. In that moment by the old gods blessed, oh, you and I truly one. And were you then a single leaf upon the autumn bough, and I the wind, a wanton thief, to blow as I blow now? And when you fall as fall you must, oh, I to be the waking dust, beyond sorrow, grief, or lost, to lie here forever truly one. Thanks very much.
Brilliant, Derry.
Lovely, thanks, Liam.
Yeah, very, very moving. There's some lovely comments here as well. Jerry and Rosie as well. Masterful performance. Liam Weldon may have written it, but you've made your own. But Derry, yeah, the
thanks very much.
Waterworks working here as well. Yeah, it's think from man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, Jerry. Can I ask, when you say sing from the heart, when you're rehearsing or when you're practicing at home, do you commit every time, or what? How do you decide? Okay, this one's from the heart.
I have a weird. I remember having a chat with Cathal McConnell years ago, and what he said to me when he was learning the song, he said to me that he will boil the kettle and he'll try and revise the song and put it into his head, and then he'll make a cup of tea, and then that'll be his break. And then when he's back, he's drinking the tea, and then he'll do it again. And what he'll do is he'll get up, boil the tea. And I was saying, Jesus, Colin, I said, like, your stomach will fall out of you drinking that much tea. He said, no, he said, it really is. It's a great way to learn a song. So what I'll do is, for me, if I'm learning a song, I go and I will have listened to a couple of different versions of it. You probably know yourself. A lot of the time I'd go into the archives. If I'm here, I'd be, over the last couple of years, I've been quite busy, been away and stuff like that. I spoke about that earlier on briefly before we started, about like how homesick I would get and stuff like that, but still it's something that I have to do, you know what I mean? So, and it's great. Like it's the ultimate drug, playing to an audience that wants to listen, so that kind of is something that would make me sing from the heart. So what I would do is I'd practice a song. I'll practice it. My way is to write it down and see it written down. I tend not to listen to a particular version of a song being sung or recording of it if I can help it, because I'm very likely to sing it like that. You know what I mean? And I always kind of, again, I've got a few students that come to me for lessons, weekly or monthly lessons, and I will always say that to them, that's a very important thing, that you want to put your stamp on it. And that's what I try and do. Now, that would have been something that was said to me when, funny enough, by Jerry O'Reilly. I have to give him credit for that. That's something that he would always tell me. I would cross-reference a lot of stuff with Jerry and some of the guys out of Mongolian, because I always did, just to make sure I had the right versions of a song. And then what I'll do is then I'll sit down here. I'll sit down here in the house and I will either sing the song on bouzouki and see what it sounds like. I will probably just sing it unaccompanied and see what it sounds like. I'll try and pick the right key for myself. I've got all the tools and the instruments here to try and pick a key for myself. So I've nothing short of any of that, as you can see, So that's what I do. And I take it very seriously. And the main thing and the most important thing, which is really frustrating for everybody who's in the music industry, is that I don't rush it. It's really, really frustrating for them, because they're always on to me saying, have you got that song? Have you got a recording of that song? Can we have a listen to the first draft? And I'll be like, no, you can't, because so what I've done is I've kind of just started lying to people that are rushing me for songs and stuff. It'll be ready when it's ready is the thing. But my parents will also tell you that I'm a little bit lazy. I know that, but so like, I mean, I was working on a song there for the last week, which I won't be singing. I won't even tell you what name it is, what the name of the song. But the thing about it is that I got that song probably this time last year from Jerry O'Reilly. He suggested this song to me. You know what I mean? Now, Jerry, I'm not just picking on you, Jerry, because you're right in the center of the conversation here on my computer, but it is something that happened. So like, I mean, that's how long it's been. I've had that song. I've been singing it. I've been listening to a couple of different versions of it. And then I decided that I've kind of landed on it's going to sound nice with me singing it with the bouzouki, I hope, and I hope other people will agree with me. It hasn't.
Jerry, you don't want to tell us the name of the song?
No, I'm not going to tell you, because there's 2 or 3 of them. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, I'm actually recording, and I'm afraid that you might ask me to sing it, and I won't know it from start to finish. That's the thing, right? It's still only in its early stages. But I do that, and I remember speaking to Andy Irvine at a festival in Canada or in Australia a couple of years ago, and we got into a really kind of a deep conversation. He's my total and ultimate hero, like, do you know what I mean? And he said to me like that he could practice a song for 6 months to 8 months, and then it would never even make the cut. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's serious. That's a serious amount of effort, to kind of come up with material, I think, and yeah, I kind of I kind of take all this information and store bits of it in my own head and try and do my own musical sets, or my own repertoire that way, you know. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
And that's a great insight into how you perfect your craft. Could you speak to us a little bit before? I want to ask you about Drawing from the Well as well, but just some of your where your heroes are became your mentors, and then I know. I hope I'm not breaching any confidentiality here, but I was speaking to Christy Moore recently, and he was singing your praises, if you pardon the pun. And Joe, could you talk to us about your relationship with those people that you seek advice from?
Like I met fantastic musicians on the road. I was very privileged to have been asked to different festivals, so you'd meet great musicians, and the last one really that I was on was with Cherish the Ladies, Joni Madden and Morella Murray and all these guys, like, and just to kind of to see these playing, they're massive influences on my kind of music or whatever what I would listen to. You've got the likes of Lunacy, the band there. I remember hearing those guys for the first time. Fluke, I'm still kind of trendy as well. I still listen to that stuff, like, do you know what I mean? And I remember meeting, and like, because I would have been playing the banjo when I was in Limerick, I always had a keen interest in the banjo. I remember meeting John Carty there and Angelina Carberry, like the banjo players. They are absolutely two of my favorite banjo players, like, and just the thing about it is that they're so nice, like they're just so nice and giving. And I mean, you could ring them, we could get off the Zoom call and I could give them a call and ask them for a few tunes and they'd send them on to me, the likes of these people are people who make it very easy for you to kind of stay in the music scene because they're so giving and so kind. I know I'm gone off what we were talking about there, but no. Like, I mean, my big influences would have been, obviously, you said it there, Christy Moore and Andy Irvine and Donald Lunny and Planksty and the Botty Band, and listening to those guys, the songs, especially the songs, were something that really, kind of unconsciously stood out in my head years ago before I became a singer. So yeah. I think I always remembered Gay McKeown saying it to me, actually at a session in Hughes's. I remember having a chat with him during the break of a few tunes one day. And he said to me something which I thought was very important. He said, like, 50% of learning music is listening to it, and you could go around and say that to people, and people will say to you, oh, yeah, sure, I listen to music all the time. But I actually know what he was talking about. What he was talking about was actually listening to it and letting it get into your bones. Because if you go into the likes of a session like that, which is somewhere where maybe myself and Desi would go for a pint and we'd be, more times we would be bystanders, kind of listeners, than we would be getting involved in the session. You can feel a pulse and a heartbeat in the music, and you'll get this at certain different sessions. It gets into your bones, and that's what I try and pull from music all the time. It won't happen all the time either, Liam, but like, when it does, it's like I said earlier on, it's better than any bloody drug, I would say, because I don't do drugs. There you go. So I have a beer the odd time. That's it. But like, so, like it is, it really is. It's great. Like, it's fantastic. So
the beer or what?
Both.
I'm joking. You're Drawn from the Well. You focused on Kathleen Behan. Could you tell our listeners a bit about it?
Actually, tell you a funny story about that. Do you know where I came across, funny enough, where I came across Kathleen Bean and Dominic and Brendan for the very first time, actually, funny enough, was in the library there, David. Actually, I went into the ILAC. I remember Fintan Vallely was my supervisor when I was doing my thing on Liam Weldon. And he said to me, you should look into all of these singers. The Dublin, he kind of mentioned to me about the Dublin style of singing and stuff like that, right? And it brings you very nicely onto Kathleen, really, when you think about it. And it was great having a chat with Des Geraghty, actually, because he seemed to really, really be leaning on the fact that there's a Dublin style of singing and music and Irish, and kind of just kind of Dublin kind of has its own stamp. And Kathleen really spoke about that as well. So the first place really where I would have been sent to kind of do research on Liam would have been to the ILAC Centre, because I know they've got the recordings and stuff in there. And what happened was then is you kind of do this thing where you spin off, and it always happens when I go into the archives and you kind of start listening to different music. And so the 3 albums were there. That's where I heard that album first, Kathleen singing. And I was always very, very kind of interested in it, how raw it was, very like raw, you know what I mean? And Brendan and Dominic's one as well, especially Brendan's one, I thought was very, very entertaining. His album where he's speaking and kind of singing a few songs in it, you know? So yeah, that's when I kind of started getting a bit of an interest. And what happened was I was speaking to Alan there a couple of, God, it must have been last year, Alan, and we were saying what would the topic be, maybe, you know, if I was to do a drawing from the well. And Alan kind of mentioned, you know, it might be an idea to do it on a singer from Dublin, which was great, like, you know. And then he said to me, he says, "Sure, Kathleen Bean lived in Crumlin, didn't she?" And I went, of course. How did I not know? How did I forget that? Like, you know, but sure. She literally lived in a house around the corner from my house, and if I'm ever bringing the dogs for a walk, we'll always walk by that house. And it was a great idea, actually. So that's how I started researching Kathleen and her singing, and kind of her life was an incredible life. Like, she lived kind of, didn't she really live through some of the most historical times in Ireland, you know? It was amazing, like, to have lived through all that trouble, and you know, the slums, stuff that you could read about and you'd kind of think this is like fiction, but it's not. And it's only an arm's length away from us, do you know what I mean? When they were building Crumlin, that was, it's fantastic. It's like, I grew up there, and when I was 10 or 11 years of age or whatever, I just assumed that Crumlin was there forever. Sure, I never knew anything about it. You know, it kind of just started.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that long ago. Like, it's amazing, you know. So
yeah, and for anyone who hasn't seen that video is available on ITMA's YouTube channel and Facebook and through the website as well. But I'd like to open up to the crowd here, open the floor. Would anyone like to ask a question at this stage? Alan Woods, my colleague in ITMA, is keeping an eye out for questions throughout this.
Yeah, I can go back to a question that came up a little bit earlier, and it's it came in from Jerry O'Reilly, and it was in relation to Derry, when the development of his singing, and when he started participating in the competitions, and the process that led up to him winning the All-Ireland singing competition at the Flag Ceoil. I think it was Derry in 2013, I think, if I remember correctly. So what about that whole, I think that's what Jerry was asking, what maybe did the approach towards, did that have any, I just found Jerry's question, what effect did winning the Senior All-Ireland Ballads in English at the FLA have on your approach? So...
Yeah, it had a great. It had a great effect. Like, it really did, more than I thought it would. You know, I started off. I was at a session one night, and this guy called Rory O'Brien said to me, "Why don't you enter the FLA?" Right, and it was a joke, like, you know. So I said, "Yeah, sure." So he said to me, it's kind of a Dublin thing, and he said, "If you give me the tenner," he says, "I'll put your name down." You know. So I gave him the tenner. And he went up to, I was in the Cultural actually, in Monkstown, and he came back with 2 points. He handed me one. He says, "Hold on a minute, I don't want me change back." And he says, No. He says, "No, it's great." And I saw him going up to the bar with the tenner and giving it in. You know, it's like, so anyway. But what happened was a couple of weeks later, he actually enrolled me in the competition, and he got back to me and he says, "Now you're on. You have to sing in Dublin." So I sung it, and it's kind of judged by a panel, you know, and at the time, like, I mean, I know this now, but a lot of people have an awful lot of different views about the competition and stuff. But I have to say that I learned an awful lot out of it, because I was the singer I was then, I wasn't the singer that I am now. You know what I mean? And I mean, I could go on all day about that. We could do another hour about chatting about that if you wanted to another time. That's no problem. But the thing about it is, in a nutshell, was that it really made me kind of hone in on and start kind of singing songs. You know, like kind of there's great Dublin songs there that could be sung. Okay, I'll tell you what happened. So the first year I sung in Cavan, and then the second year I sung in Cavan, and I came fourth in the competition. And then the third year, I had this group of songs, and I went to County Derry. It wasn't Cavan, sorry, whatever it was the year before. I went to County Derry, and I sung in the competition, and I won that year. And they gave me the plaque to bring home for a year. And when I brought the plaque home, I was looking at all of the stamps on the plaque, and this to me was very important. There was one other Dublin singer on it, and it was from 1973, and it was Frank Hart, right? So there was my badge, and actually, funny enough, there was room beside it. So I put my badge beside it, right? Which is, you know, it's a big thing for some people to do that. And that went down to my mother's house. That was on the mantelpiece down there for a year. But I was incredibly proud of it. Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw the people that were on it who won, but none of them really were from Dublin, okay? And what happened then, I might be wrong now, but what I kind of started seeing then was this massive kind of, like resurgence of singing, unaccompanied singing in Dublin. I remember seeing it and saying, it kind of just started to happen, but it happened really quickly. And I was going into the goalie, and then I would go to like Holt Singer Circle, and then shortly after that, or maybe before that, but shortly after that, I kind of discovered the night before Larry got stretched and stuff like this, like, you know. And then these kind of other kind of sessions when you were, remember those days when you were able to go to the pub, like, and going into a session, and it would take off. It could be just totally just an hour of songs, like, and it was beautiful. Like, I remember going into Walsh's there in Stony Batter. Like, I mean, I literally started serving my time. That was the pub where I went to get paid every week. And there was never a sniff of music in there when I was a young lad, like when I was 16, 17, going in to get me wages, like, never. And what would happen was, like, you'd go in there to that session, and that session there, I remember going into that one night, and it was bloody incredible. And I didn't even sing a song myself or anything like that. I just was completely just in awe of the singing. So like, what happened was maybe I didn't, maybe the singers were always there, but I just saw this, it opened up to me that there was this massive kind of a singing scene in Dublin then. And look at it now. I mean, it's amazing. Like, it's just, I mean, not even look at it now, but like this time kind of last year, it was, or, you know what I mean, start of the year.
Pre-COVID, yeah. It was amazing.
Now. Like, it was pre-COVID, like, it was incredible. You could handpick a session, a really, really nice session, any night of the week, really. And I loved that. I love that about Dublin. I love that. Like, you don't have to even go outside. It's great. Like, you know?
Yeah, I think that's testament to how many great singer circles there are throughout Dublin and throughout the country as well. There's certainly a great connection between generations now that maybe there wasn't at other times in our history, and we're seeing the fruits of that now at the moment.
You know, and I just have to say, like, I'm delighted to be a part of it. I really am delighted that I was around when it came back. Kind of, you know, it's been in so much in fashion, like the Frank Hart Festival, and it's just you know all this kind of stuff, like, you know, brilliant.
Yeah, I know we're getting very close to 3 o'clock. If you could, well, I'd love you to sing another song. And just very quickly, your immediate plans for the future, Derry. You're recording at the moment.
Yeah, I'm recording at the moment, and I am obviously keeps getting put off because of COVID-19, and it's really, really frustrating. But I'll get back there. I'll get back at it next week. So I've had like a break of about 3 months. Like, you know, it's a seriously big break. Whereas I'd say if I had 3 months with this new album that I'm recording, I probably would have had it done. Like, you know, but it's better to be safe than sorry. You know what I mean? So it's better to be able to talk about the album yourself rather than have people talk about it because you got COVID-19 and died. Like, you know, Jay-Z was great hymns. Remember them? Let's get another beer or whatever. You know. So Jesus, the way I'm going on about beer, you'd think I was an alcoholic, wouldn't you? Like, you know, but no, I'll sing another song. I'll sing a song that's going to be on the album, right? So I was in Australia and I got this really, really bad flu about coming up on 3 years ago now, you know, 2.5 years ago, I'd say. And I was out there, I was on my own, and I got an email from Conor Byrne to say they were, you know, that they were doing a program called Ireland's Greatest Folk Song, okay, a TV thing for RT1. And would I sing a song? Would I like to sing a song for it? And I said I'd be absolutely honored, you know. So we said we're going to try and get, you know, like, you know, other singers, maybe another singer involved, right? The way it fell that I actually ended up just singing it on my own. So he said to me, how do you feel about the Foggy Dew? And I said, yeah, sure. So I was in Australia for 3 weeks, and so I started learning the Foggy Dew. And as far as I was concerned, I learned the 4 songs. And then Conor got on to me and he says, could you give us a quick draft of that song? So I sung it into my phone and sent it to him. And then he sent me back an email and he says, I was speaking to Luke Cheevers and I let him have a little listen to it. And he said, is he only doing the 4 verses? It's like, Jesus, you know, but I felt so embarrassed. So there you go. Again, it's getting back to, you know, research and practice is really something. So yeah, I'll give you the Foggy Dew, and hopefully I remember all the verses. And that's a song that I might record on the new album if I can get it down properly. So thanks very much, everybody, for having me, and thanks for coming along. I really appreciate it, and it's been great talking to you. You know, so it goes like this.
Thank you, Daoirí. It's been fantastic. Yeah, we're not done yet.
All right, okay. So yeah, it goes like this. As down the glen one Easter morn to a city fair rode I. There are little lines of marching men, in squadrons they passed me by. No fife did hum, no battle drum, didn't sound its lonely tattoo. When the Angelus bell over the Liffey swell, it rang out in the Foggy Dew. And right proudly high over Dublin town, they hung out the flag on board. It was better to die beneath an Irish sky than in Sulvar or Sudelbar. And then from the plains of Royal Mead, strong men came marching through. And when morning broke, well, the war flag it shook out its folds all on the Foggy Dew. Well, the night drew black and the rifle crack, it made perfidious Albion reel. Through the laden rain, 7 tongues of flame, it rang out over lines of steel. And unto every blade a prayer I'd send, that to Ireland her young men they be true. And when morning broke, well, the war flag
flag it shook out its folds all along the foggy dew. Well, it was England that bade her wild geese go, so that small nations might be free. But their lovely grains are by Sylvan's waves, or on the fringes of the grey North Sea. And they died by Pierce's side, or they fought along with Calgary. Well, their names we'd keep where the Fenians all sleep, under the shroud of the foggy dew. It rang mournfully and free for the men who died on that Easter tide, or at the springing of the year. And they died by Pearson's side, or fought with Calvary. Well, their names we keep where the Fenians all sleep, under the shroud of the foggy dew. Well, back o'er the glen I rode again, and my heart with grief it was sore. For I parted then with gallant men that I never would see no more. And to and fro in my dream I'll go, and I'll kneel and say a prayer for you. Oh, slavery fled, ye gallant dead, when you fell all in the foggy dew. Oh, slavery fled, ye gallant dead, when you died in the foggy dew. Thanks everyone.
Fantastic, Daoirí. Yeah, that was such a lovely afternoon. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I have. It's been a very, very pleasant and inspiring hour as well, from musical point of view for me too, Daoirí. Take a lot away from this. Just like to thank David O'Brien of the ILAC Music Library and Dublin Central Libraries as well, and Fiona, Grace Tolan, my colleague, and Alan Woods as well, who did a lot of work behind the scenes. Thank you all for joining as well. And this is the first of a three-part series. So we've Steve Cooney and Aoife Vreen. So they should be, if you enjoyed today, please tell other people about it and consider joining us again next month. So I'll hand back over to David, but on behalf of everyone, just thank you so much, Daoirí, for giving us your music and time, putting so much heart into today. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Pretty much everything that Alan said by two, or sorry, Liam said by two. Thanks to Daoirí first and foremost. That was fantastic. It was a really, really nice afternoon. And thanks for everyone for coming, especially people from, I mean, so many different countries, actually. I mean, one of the few positive things about all of this is that it's going to bring people together a lot easier in some ways. So that was fantastic. Lovely to see. And I hope you'll join us again next month. So thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Slán.
everyone. Slán.